we're going to select our, in this lesson, we're going to select our hero shots from this. In this lesson, we're going to select our hero shots from this timeline. Now we start with the Austerlin project on our timeline. There's no color correction on it right now. It's just straight from editorial, sliced up using the EDL, the edit decision list provided by them. And now we're going to go through and select some hero shots from this timeline. Now, before I jump in, I do want to mention that I have DaVinci YRGB color management enabled and set to Rec 709 Gamma 2.4 so that this ARRI log C footage looks a little bit more accurate on my Rec 709 Gamma 2.4 calibrated reference display so that I can better make these decisions when I'm selecting my hero shots. Now, you may ask, what is a hero shot and what are we going to use it for? Well, we're going to select about 8 to 10 shots from this timeline, and we're going to use them to build our look around. And how we're going to select them is based off a few criteria. The first being that it is just so visually striking that you can see it being used to represent the piece as a whole. Something you might see on a movie poster or the thumbnail for the piece on a streaming service, for instance. You want to make sure that it all brings together the theme and the story of the project. So make sure that you're bringing everything together as a whole and it fits in line with the project's goals and it does what the client is trying to do. Now, another reason you might want to include a shot as a hero shot is that you see a problem with it. It might be underexposed, it might be overexposed, it might have some additional noise in it, it might have a really improper white balance. It might also be something that the client specifically brought to you as a problem shot. It may actually be the reason the client came to you. They came to you and they said, this shot is really noisy. Can you save this? Sometimes this is how a lot of people will get the job. So you definitely want to include this in your hero shots and not leave it till the end because you want to make sure you build your look around these shots and not leave them to the end and try and sort of fudge them into your look. The third reason you might want to include a shot as a hero shot is if it's the talent. Now, this talent may be the actor or actress. It may be a product. It may also be a place. In this particular project, we'll find that it's a combination of all three, and that's what we're going to focus on. If there's one thing you walk away from this course, it's that color grading is about consistency, and we want our grades to be as consistent as possible. That's the name of the game in look creation. You can get away with almost anything as long as you are consistent with it. So let's jump through and see what we have in this piece. We're going to watch it down and we're going to add flags to any shots that we want to include as hero shots. Now you can add a flag by right-clicking and going to flags. You can use different colors if you'd like to select different hero shots for different scenes. I'm going to use a single flag for the entire piece because it's not that long. And I'm going to use my Stream Deck so that I can add this in a faster manner. Now, I like this shot, but I do notice it's a little bit underexposed. So I do want to make sure that the shot holds up. So I'm going to add this to our hero shots. Every channel is below 256, and we have almost 2 channels below 128. So we're definitely going to call this a hero shot. This is going to need some help. It's also important to watch these shots in motion because although a still might look fine, all of a sudden, 2 seconds down the line, it might change in exposure, somebody might walk into frame, and all of a sudden a shot that looked great or not great might change. So definitely watch your piece in motion when you're selecting your hero shots. Now this shot's a little bit interesting. It definitely defines the piece a little bit, but I don't really see anything wrong with it. It's a tiny bit dark, so I'm going to include it. I really like this shot. I think there's a ton of potential. It has our talent in it, and there's a lot of great detail in the background that we can enhance. I also want to make sure that our greens don't go too strange on our look, so this is a great shot to include as a hero shot. Now I love what's happening in the flares right here, but I don't want to include too many shots up front. We're already on shot 6 and I already have 3 hero shots. So I'm going to skip this one. So when I'm stopping, I'm just occasionally checking my scopes. I'm just looking at the image and giving myself a second to evaluate. Now, this is definitely a hero shot. We have a close-up of our talent, and I want to make sure that not only our skin, but the details of our eye look excellent under the look. Now, this one might be a maybe. Our shadows are a little bit dark. This is definitely something that I'd like to see brighter, but it's definitely not underexposed. We definitely have detail under there. I'll include it for right now, and we can remove it later if we need to. Now, you may notice that I'm probably going to have more than 8 or 10, and that's perfectly okay. If I end up with too many, I'd rather have more than not enough, and then find out later that I didn't have enough variety. And if I end up with too many, I can definitely remove some. I really like this shot, and I like the motion, and I like the detail in the sky. So I'm going to include this one. I don't really see any issue with it. Definitely, we have our talent right there. I want to make sure his skin sings in the shot. Okay, this is the definition of a hero frame, as is the next shot. So you can include this one and the next one. I'm going to include both of them. There are no problems with this shot, but I know I love the shot and my client loves the shot. So we want to make sure that these two are gorgeous. Okay, now we're getting into a different area. We're starting to get into darker conditions. We have some cooking going on. So I definitely want to include something in this context here. We have fire, which is highly saturated and is going to react differently. So I want to make sure we have something in this area. Okay, food. I'm going to grab this next shot as a hero frame, and then I'm going to go back. I'm going to select this shot right here of the salad. How is this shot? This shot is underexposed. We're going to include this one because this may be an issue, but it is in the dark. So one of the things to remember is context. So we'll come back to this one. That's looking good. This one has a little bit of chromatic aberration on the edge right there. I'll add that one just so I can take care of that later. Not a big error, but something I'd like to take care of if I have time. Okay, we have some highly saturated neon lights that I want to make sure our look holds up to. We have two shots here. This one has sky in it, so we're going to have more trouble with this one than the next shot. So I'm going to use this one as our hero shot. This one might be. Nope, there it is. There's a hero shot right there. We'll have to match that later. This one has a little bit of a color temperature issue, but not enough that I'm concerned about it. Okay, now we're getting into a different context. We have some snow whites, which are unique and have their own challenges when grading. So I want to make sure that our look stands up to that as well. We react very specifically to whether snow looks that color or it doesn't. So I want to make sure that our look doesn't fall apart right here in the scene. I'm going to choose this shot as our hero shot because our talent's just not clear enough right there. Okay, this shot is pretty underexposed. There's some pretty heavy noise, and I want to make sure that our look doesn't exacerbate that. So this is going to be a hero shot. That's okay. Ooh. Okay, this is a gorgeous shot. I think there's a ton of potential here. I want to make sure that we take full advantage of that. So I'm going to select this as a hero shot, and we have our talent full and center. Okay, this is really similar to the shot we have up front. In fact, I'm going to select this one. Not too badly underexposed, okay. Still okay. This is definitely one I want to keep an eye on. Okay, and now we're at the beginning. So next thing we're going to do is limit our timeline based off the clips we selected. We'll go to flag, and then I'm going to go to any flag. Clear that. Looks like I accidentally had a qualifier selected. And it looks like we have 20 clips selected. Now we're going to watch through this and see if any of the clips are redundant or if anything was misselected or doesn't belong in here. So let's watch this down. And this is just our hero shots. So by building our grades around not only the best shots, but around the worst shots, and specifically making sure they really do stand up in the worst shots, we're going to ensure that our grades really do look consistent, as opposed to if we try to fit in our worst shots on the back end, and maybe they'll work, maybe they won't. We'll apply a little bit of Band-Aid and glue and hope they fit and nobody notices. That's just not the way that it's going to work well. You might get away with it, but a lot of people are going to fall out of that state of disbelief. So when we're selecting our hero shots, we want to be careful that we select a wide variety of shots throughout our project. We include any problems we notice. We include all the shots that our clients mention that they both love and are concerned about, and that we include any crucially important talent in there. Okay, that's looking pretty good. And although that's a little bit more than the 8 to 10 that I had originally anticipated, I think that's a good mix and variety from this project. So this is what we're going to take into our looks phase, and we'll start experimenting with these shots. So in the next lesson, we're going to start with some basic exposure and white balance correction, and then we'll jump right into looks.